Stunning twist. NBA insider hints at Jrue Holiday's exit as Celtics target shocking draft replacement. What if the Boston Celtics are already mapping out a future without Jrue Holiday, even as they pursue back-to-back championships? That's not just wild speculation. It's a scenario now gaining traction, thanks to a revealing mock draft report that might have exposed far more than just Boston's draft intentions. And if it proves accurate, it could mark the beginning of a seismic shift in how this franchise defines its identity. While the spotlight remains fixed on Boston's high-stakes postseason march and the brewing clash with the Knicks, front office executives may be quietly laying the groundwork for a roster overhaul that's nothing short of stunning. According to The Athletic's Sam Vecenie, the Celtics are targeting Alabama guard LeBron Philon in the first round of the 2025 NBA draft. But this isn't just a matter of adding young depth. There's a pattern here, and the timing of it all is too precise to ignore. On paper, Philon appears to be a smart, versatile pick. He's quick, shifty, disruptive on defense, and malleable enough to play both guard spots. But in context,
he's a great guy. Someone that you look up to, and he just does it all the right way. And so he doesn't want, like you said, any of the praise or recognition, but definitely one of the best people in this game. And obviously he's a great player, but the person he is unbelievable. And I've learned so much from him and his family, and it's great having him on our team.
He looks suspiciously like a blueprint for a Jrue Holiday replacement. That's where things get uncomfortable. Vecenie's evaluation paints Philon as a multi-role ball handler, a scheme-adaptable defender, and a high-effort competitor who thrives in both structured and free-flowing offensive systems. Sound familiar? It should. That's the very foundation of what made Holiday such an integral piece of Boston's title run last season. So let's stop pretending this is just coincidence. There's a very real possibility that the Celtics aren't drafting for depth. They're drafting for survival, and Philon could be the contingency plan already being put in place for an exit the team hasn't admitted publicly yet. Because no matter how loyal the Celtics front office is to its core, reality is crashing through the walls. This roster is financially unsustainable, with the league's new CBA breathing fire into luxury tax thresholds and punitive second apron penalties looming. Boston's long-term spending model is under siege. Holiday, despite his immeasurable value, carries one of the contracts that might have to go. He's 34, locked into a fresh 4-year, $135 million deal, and as durable as he's been, the back end of that deal could become a financial anchor.
Right now, Boston is fully focused on winning a championship. That is the number one focus, repeating. But I can tell you, the rest of the league is bracing for some level of change to come to the Celtics from their roster this offseason. And, sources have been telling me for weeks now that the Celtics will be exploring trade options in the offseason. This team, this iteration just is not going to be sustainable for this team, and no one around the organization, from players to staffers, would be surprised if there are changes coming to this roster. Because when you think about the new collective bargaining agreement, there's restrictions that come with trades, there's restrictions that come with freezing of draft picks. That's all stuff that they're dealing with right now. They have 5 players right now scheduled to make $28 million or more next season. That's a league record. So they would have a salary bill of $500 million. That's a league history amount. And I think the Celtics knew when they traded for Jrue Holiday and they traded for Kristaps Porzingis, they'd be staring at this in the face this summer.
That's not about disrespect. That's just asset management in the era of the second apron. Boston might love what Holiday gives them, but love doesn't clear cap space. Add to that the hidden pressure from the Celtics' new ownership group, which spent over $6 billion acquiring the team. That's not pocket change. That's a business empire looking for returns, and fast. Every move from here on out is being scrutinized through a fiscal lens. Overspending on aging veterans, however beloved or effective, is a luxury this regime may no longer tolerate. And here's where things get even more uncomfortable. If Philon really is being groomed as Holiday's eventual replacement, what does? that say about Boston's internal timeline? Are the Celtics preparing to pivot sooner than expected? Is this a signal that a mini rebuild is already being built into the championship window? It's possible Boston knows something the public doesn't. Maybe about Jrue's long-term health, his fit within Joe Mazzulla's evolving system, or even his willingness to accept a diminished role as his body ages. Drafting Phylon isn't just about talent acquisition. It might be a hedge, a warning sign, a whisper that the franchise's most beloved win-now piece might not be part of the next phase. Let's be brutally honest. This wouldn't be the first time the Celtics made a ruthless decision in the name of long-term success. And if that philosophy is still alive under new ownership, Jrue Holiday could become the next chapter in a legacy of calculated, cold-blooded front office moves. And here's the chilling part. Labaron Phylon wouldn't need to be Jrue Holiday right away. He'd just need to be cheap enough to give Boston the flexibility to retool around its true long-term assets, Tatum and Brown, while avoiding cap catastrophe. And here's the real kicker. Celtics ownership isn't just new. It's new money, and that comes with a very different set of priorities. This isn't a group of lifelong basketball romantics. This is a high-stakes investment syndicate that dropped a record-shattering $6.1 billion to acquire the Boston Celtics. That wasn't just a sports move. That was a portfolio play, a strategic asset, a long-term bet in a volatile financial ecosystem. And what do billionaire-led ownership groups do when overhead spikes and long-term profitability is threatened by punitive tax brackets and restrictive CBA rules? They restructure, they optimize, they cut. Not sentimentally, but surgically. So when reports began surfacing that Jrue Holiday and Kristaps Porzingis could be financial casualties, it wasn't just idle gossip, it was the sound of a ticking clock. Because let's be clear, you don't spend $6.1 billion on a legacy franchise without a long-term exit strategy. And in this case, that exit probably doesn't include carrying multiple veterans on 8-figure deals into their mid-30s under the most punishing tax climate the NBA has ever created. Which brings us back to Labaron Phylon. The Celtics aren't just taking a flyer on a promising teenager. They may be planting the seed for a total backcourt reconfiguration, a reset that becomes not only financially necessary, but strategically inevitable. Think about the math. Why else would a team in the heart of a championship window burn a first-round draft pick on a raw 18-year-old combo guard, a player who's not ready to lead, not physically mature enough to defend NBA All-Stars, and has no experience in the high-leverage moments that define Boston's brand of basketball? This isn't just roster management. This could be the first move in a stealth rebuild, not of the entire team, but of the financial DNA behind it. And it raises questions that most Celtics fans aren't ready to confront. Would the franchise dare to swap proven leadership and elite defense for the uncertainty of youth just to preserve tax flexibility? Could a rookie, even one with Phylon's upside, realistically shoulder the responsibility of replacing a two-time All-Star and former champion? And most dangerously, is Boston already prioritizing long-term cost control over immediate title contention? On one hand, you could argue this is just smart front office chess. Staying ahead of the curve, managing the cap, planning for inevitable decline. But on the other hand, it could feel like betrayal, a betrayal of the exact veteran presence that helped deliver Banner 18, a betrayal of the concept that loyalty and leadership still matter. If Jrue Holiday is indeed moved by trade or financial force, Labaron Phylon won't just be another draft pick. He'll become a symbol of something deeper, a symbol of modern roster economics overtaking basketball culture, a test case for whether you can manufacture chemistry in a spreadsheet. And here's the most uncomfortable truth of all. Maybe Boston already knows it can't replace Jrue Holiday with another Jrue Holiday.